Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Social You Should Know. This week we have a pretty interesting announcement from Facebook as far as newsfeed.
I thought it was strange. They called a press conference to announce that they were going to write blog posts about newsfeed. Kind of thought they could have just written blog posts about newsfeed, but they called a press conference, and in that first blog post, they mentioned the first change they're making to newsfeed, which is called story bumping. And so right now, if you scroll down, and they find people scroll about 57% of the way down their newsfeed, they will then, but you don't get far enough to see a story that Facebook thinks you should see. They'll bump it up next time, so it's there even though it's not in that chronological order anymore. So that was the first change that they announced yesterday, but they're sort of, I think, hinting at a bigger issue that they're going to pay some attention to the newsfeed.
So we've talked about this in the past, that Facebook has quite a few issues to deal with in terms of engagement and popularity, but it sounds like they're recognizing that there is a big problem with the newsfeed. What do you think that is?
There's a lot of problems with the newsfeed right now, and talk to anybody and they'll say, Facebook's gotten really boring for me recently. I'm just not getting the same joy out of it that I used to. Part of it's, aging of technology, but part of it also is they tightened up that algorithm, and we know as marketers all of our impressions went down. Well, that's not good for marketers, but it's also not good for friends. I'm not seeing content from a wide array of friends. They're making decisions on who they think my friends are, and they're not getting it right. And I'm seeing the same kinds of updates from the same people, and it's just not as compelling to go back and check it, 20 times a day like I used to. Maybe I'm in there a couple times a day. So, and younger people are in there a couple times a week now. So it's a really big problem for marketers, but much more important to Facebook is the user experience has been suffering. So these Q2 results they put out where they made a ton of money, I was thinking that's the top. That's the top. But if Facebook can pivot their attention to the user experience, which this seems to be an indication of, maybe they have a chance to keep it going, because they certainly have critical mass still.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some ways that you think that they could improve the experience?
Well, before this blog post yesterday, I was thinking perhaps they need to eliminate EdgeRank as a concept, right? So take this up to a high level. They said social advertising was going to be so good because we were going to know so much about what you like and don't like that we were going to serve you relevant ads. Facebook doesn't even say that anymore. They gave up on that. They're often retargeting, doing the same advertising stuff that other websites do. So the promise of social advertising on Facebook has been basically abandoned by Facebook. So I was thinking on the flip side, they could abandon EdgeRank, the promise that we know so much about you, we know who your friends are, we'll show you the content you care about. But interestingly, there was a line in that post yesterday that said, we have run tests where we don't try to filter based on EdgeRank, we just let it all flow through, and total engagement drops. So it's interesting that they tried that, and I don't have any reason to not believe this. And they said story bumping drives engagement up 8% for brand pages and 5% engagement increase among friends. So good first step, a good step in the right direction, but do one more thing. Go to that blog post they wrote and read the comments underneath. And there's, I think, 97 comments when I last looked, and almost all of them are complaining about newsfeed and the algorithm. So they have a long way to go, and I hope they were admitting that by having a press conference.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, how they move forward with this.
There's billions of dollars at stake, so
Yeah,
it needs some attention.
Yeah. So in terms of customizing the experience for yourself, do you think that it's more a responsibility for Facebook to make it a better experience, or the user to be given an array of options and select how they want their experience to be?
I would say that about 75% of that burden is on Facebook. It's your product, you're creating the experience, you know more, and there's users at such different levels, from the hyper tech geek to the person who just checks once in a while, that a lot of those controls get very confusing very quickly. There are some controls right now. You can pick who your friends are, who your close friends are, but you don't see really much impact on those. So I think most of the burden is on Facebook. Having said that, if they do it, it has to be easy, and it has to show you results very quickly. So they have most recent right now as an option on the mobile. You can't start with that as the option. You have to start with top stories. But when you go to most recent, some people are complaining, and I've seen this too, it's not most recent. it's again, they're bumping these stories up based on what they think. So if you're going to give me an option to not use your algorithm, give me the option. Like, make it actually work the way I'd expect it to work. So I just want to see, what are my friends actually sharing with me? Let me see it all. Let me see all the brand pages, unless I've hidden them. Let me see everything. And that most recent doesn't do that right now, which is strange. So Facebook has to fix it, and if they want the user to participate, they have to make it easy and they have to make it work.
Yeah, definitely. And it'll be interesting to see more content coming from them via these blog posts and see kind of
Absolutely.
information out there.
I can't overstate how big a deal I think this is, because I've got a book coming out, and it's all about Facebook reaching its peak, and it's all about the trouble with Facebook and the fact that people are finding it boring, and I believe all that, but if they do this right, they could take a big chunk of my book away, so I better publish very quickly. But it's a critical thing to keeping the Facebook experience enjoyable, and they're losing that right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's it for us this week. We've got 2 more interesting topics, including updates to Instagram and what frustrates users the most when it comes to how brands advertise on social media. And you can get all that by subscribing to our email at ignitesocialmedia.com, and you can also follow us on Twitter at IgniteSMA.